got new boots. They finally showed up. I ordered these for myself as a birthday gift. Going into this video, I want people to realize you do not gotta buy top of the line boots. You don't gotta buy something that's like very luxury priced. You'll perfectly get by in the sub 4-figure market. Anyways, these boots have been like a holy grail for me. Relatively recently, I have developed a fascination with engineer boots. And I would say about 8 months ago, I bought the Shop Vancouver Mr. Lou's. Shout out to TJ, he helped me out a lot, getting my sizing dialed in, took care of me with some returns and exchanges, and made that whole process super easy. And I was going through my selection of boots, and I don't have a good brown boot to wear. And that's where these bad boys come in. So, we got the infamous Roll Club engineer boots by the one and only Brian. Brian the bootmaker out of LA. I was in LA right before Christmas time, and I really wanted to go to a shop in person and get sized up, but just things didn't line up. I was there for a concert, busy, like getting your meal in early before spending all day at a concert and all that, and there on limited time. And then fast forward to recently, where he posted online that he was getting, or I guess re-releasing some stock of the natural Miriam horse butt engineers. And let me take a step back. So I've always loved the way that the Roll Club engineers have looked. However, I'm going to Japan later this year, and a pair of clinch boots was actually on the top of my list. That was like on my, when you go to Japan, you must buy this, budget for it. And all of a sudden I was doing some trip planning, and I took the measurements of the bags that we're allowed to take, and I kind of came to this realization where I was like, damn, if I buy a pair of engineer boots in Japan, that's gonna suck up a lot of the luggage space that I have. Hold on, car's going by. Anyways, I'm gonna suck up a lot of the luggage space that I have to buy other souvenirs. I'm traveling with my wife, she's gonna be buying stuff. And so I was like, okay, these Roll Clubs are looking more and more appealing, because now that I know I'm not going to be spending that portion of my budget when I go to Japan. And I still really want a pair of nice high-end engineer boots. So, my birthday's coming up next month. This size originally was not in stock. I messaged Brian on Instagram. I said, hey, I need some help sizing up your boots. He sent me a diagram. He said, take these measurements of your left foot, your right foot. I said, perfect. Sent him the measurements, and he came back and said, hey, you are a size 10.5D according to my measurements. And I said, hey, thanks for answering that. There's no 10.5D in stock, am I right? And then he messaged me the next day and he said, I just put up a 10.5 on the website. You can go ahead and place the order. So, to be upfront, I have already tried these on because I was like a kid on Christmas morning and I wanted to make sure that they fit. And holy hell, do they fit good. But I want to share the overall experience, the unboxing, because I am so excited about these boots that I want to share the process with other people that might be thinking about getting a pair of these. So you get the box. The box is covered with incredible artwork. It's cool because you can see the different layers of the print that goes on. You can see that certain colors overlap the other colors, and you can see that it wasn't just like thrown through a traditional printer that printed everything at once. The boots come individually wrapped in these awesome dust bags. Now, if you are a boot nerd, you know that the smell of new boots is crazy. It's right up there with like when you sniff a fresh block of Parmesan cheese, same level of endorphins. Here they are. They're stunning. They're absolutely stunning. So, I knew these boots were going to be nice, but I didn't have any expectation of how nice they were going to be. I'm going to compare these side by side with my Wescos and kind of show you some things to be aware of, because in my opinion, my Wesco boots are phenomenal. They're great. I get compliments on them every single time I wear them. People always ask, what kind of boots are those? What brand are those? Where can I get them? And that's for my Wescos, which, to be honest, were about half the price of these. So I had very high expectations with these coming in. And I will say that holding these in hand, seeing the fit and finish of the material, seeing the overall construction, I had super high expectations, and they just blew my expectations out of the water. It's really hard to put into words until you actually hold them and see them. So yeah, now I'm gonna kind of show you some side-by-sides along with my Wescos, and we'll go from there. I'm willing to bet a paycheck that there's no other boot people on YouTube that have a Dance Dance Revolution machine in their garage, but my layers of autism run deep. So anyways, side by side, we got my Wescos, we got the roll clubs. Obviously my Wescos are really worn. I think these just get better with age. I love how the leather collapses around your ankle, wears in, gets these awesome rolls on the toe. But I want to pay attention to just like what makes these stand out. So first thing I noticed when I picked these up was that stitch per inch on the welt. And not only that, but like, look how consecutive that is. It's just unbelievable. So you can see the difference on the Wescos. Again, the Wescos aren't made poorly. And granted, these are worn and scuffed and all that. But you can see that the stitches are so much wider with how they're spaced. So right out the gate, I was like, oh my goodness. Look how meticulous that detailing is. And then when I really held these closer and started to take a look at them, I really started to notice the craftsmanship. I mean, the stitching it's like a laser did it. It's unreal. Again, take a look at the Wescos. Not bad. Not bad, but the overall spacing, so the SPI, the stitch per inch, is the big thing to focus on. And then you really notice it on the back. Pretty darn wide stitches here. And then you just look at this. And it's like somebody took a ballpoint pen and just went dut, 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 dut. That 4-stitch construction. Are you kidding? I love the emboss on the side. Again, some comparisons. Some other things that I love. The hardware that's used to hold it together. The stitching of the sole. The Roll Club branded sole on both the toe and the heel. Big fan how this size is stamped in there. Look at the variations of the leather color. They're like nice light tan to deep caramel. And these, as you wear them and they just darken up, they're gonna look incredible. So again, not to say that Wescos are a bad boot. In fact, I will still probably wear these a lot more than what I will wear these for the time being, just because I've like come to the level of comfort where I can just beat the brakes off of these. Like I don't care if they get all beat up on the heel. I don't care if they get all scuffed and scratched. I am happy to wear them super hard, super proud. These are extremely comfortable. They've broken in around my foot. I'm still at the point with these where these are like my fresh, delicate child that hasn't been exposed to the real world. So anyways, let's put them on, see what they look like. Alright, I know I'm cut off from the frame, but I really want the focus of the boots to do the work. So I know there's going to be people asking. The jeans that I'm wearing, these are original Ironheart 634s, back when they still had a bleached weft, which is why they are such a lighter color. Man, dude, the slip-in of the foot is just so, it's like a satisfying knuckle pop when it just like falls into place. What the whole outfit looks like. God, I'm just obsessed. Like, I'm obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with how good they look. Very pleased. And I'm pleased with my Wescos as well. So, if you're on the fence with engineer boots, you've been looking around for a while, you've watched all the YouTube videos like I did when I was kind of dabbling, saying those look goofy, those look weird, I don't think I could pull those off, I say do it. There's plenty of cost-effective options for a good dollar, or for a good price, that won't break the bank, to kind of see if it's something that you want. see if it's something that you're confident enough to wear, comfortable enough to wear. And thankfully, like the engineer boot market secondhand, I feel like it retains its value pretty well as for people that want to buy a secondhand boot, so they're not spending full price on a brand new pair. If you absolutely need to try something on in person, Red Wing brought their engineer boot back. But I will say, if you spend just a little bit more, you can get a lot more quality through other brands. There's a lot of Indonesian boot makers out there that make phenomenal products. I know that there's very mixed opinions on the China companies like Crush On Retro, but the fact is they're putting out a better product for a lower cost than what something like a Red Wing would recommend. So, with that being said, I love the boots. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for helping me order the right size, keeping that line of communication open, even though it was very short, professional, clear cut. You responded to my messages within an extremely short time frame. And again, thank you, TJ. Thank you, TJ at the Shop Vancouver, for getting me into my first pair of engineer boots, which were the Wescos. Again, phenomenal customer service. I hit him up through his text line. We were texting back and forth. I was able to send him pictures of my foot on a Brannock device. He was very diligent on saying, hey, I think you're going to be this size, but more than likely we may have to exchange it. Are you okay if you have to pay return shipping? He set phenomenal expectations up front. So if I could recommend any shops from my personal experience, go to the Shop Vancouver. And if you have the funds and the means to buy a higher end product, go for some roll clubs. They're great. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you watching.